And welcome to the news today here on YHC. We're going to get started with a few guests we have today from Edward Jones Investments here in Dexter. We've got Ben Worley to my left here and to my far left on the end, Charlie Flannigan. And guys, good to have you back.
Thanks,
Tyler.
Thank you, Tyler.
Sure.
Good to see you.
Yeah, every now and then, guys come by and tell us what's going on. And I know retirement's a big thing you all are into, and especially when it comes to employees and their retirement accounts. So what have you got for us today?
Well, Tyler, we're going to talk today a little bit about what type of retirement options that employees have generally through employer plans. And, this is an area that's changed tremendously, I know especially over your career, but just in the 10 years that I've been here as well, Charlie. Historically, a lot of times people would go to work for a company, they would have some sort of pension plan. They worked X number of years, and then when they retired, they basically had a statement that says, this is how much you're going to get per year, and it was basically a guaranteed benefit type program. That's changed tremendously, again, especially over the last decade. We're moving a lot more to 401k type of plans, and those are plans basically where it's up to the employee to put a certain amount of money in each pay period or each month. Generally, the business will match a certain amount to that, but then it's up to the employee to basically decide how that money is going to be managed and what they're going to do. And there's really two big reasons we've seen these changes in the last decade. One is an expense situation. A lot of employers are finding it's a lot more cost effective for them to run a 401k plan as opposed to a full-blown pension plan. And a lot of it has to do with the regulatory nature. Most employer-sponsored plans are governed by what's called the ERISA rules, and there's actually an ERISA rule that says if the employee is making the investment decisions, is funding the majority of the money, that takes a lot of the responsibility off the employer. Of course, with that said, and I'm going to put this over to you, Charlie, as a question. We deal with this every day, but what's the best way, in your opinion, to go about if you're an employee of what you need to do with these types of plans?
Okay. Well, great question. Obviously, we think working with a financial advisor gives people a tremendous advantage. And, how do you go about determining who you want to work with and why you want to work with that person? Well, it's somewhat similar to the way that you choose a doctor or a CPA or your attorney. You basically choose somebody whom you trust, and then you do what they tell you to do. If you go to your doctor and he says, well, my advice to you is to have surgery on this to deal with this problem, and who of us says, well, heck no, I'm not going to do that. It's the same thing with a financial advisor. Get somebody who you trust, and then when they tell you to do something, do it, and you will have generally the most success. Now, some of the things that we found out about working with employees and dealing with retirement is, number one, employees, they are concerned about their retirement and their financial well-being. And as you've already mentioned, the responsibility of their retirement is shifting and has, to a certain degree, shifted already away from things like pensions and Social Security and more to a 401k or a investor sponsored plan. And we also realize that even though most workers do want to save for their retirement, most of them don't know how to go about doing it or where to go to get help. And really, that's where we come in. We can provide them one-on-one consultation to set goals for themselves, implement strategies to achieve their financial goals. And so that's really where we come in, and the things that we can do for people is to sit down one-on-one with people to determine what their individual situation is, when do they want to retire, how much money are they going to have to retire on, and then we can put strategies into place for them. We can help monitor and evaluate their progress to make sure that they're on track at all times to ultimately achieve their financial goal of retiring in a lifestyle that they've become accustomed to.
Right. Charlie, one thing that we're seeing, I know on my side of the office, is a lot of employer plans, and a lot of this is due to the fact that because of the economic situation of the last 5 years, a lot of folks are having to work a little longer than what they originally expected to. What we're finding is that a lot of plans are now going in and amending their plan document, which that's just basically the rules of their employer plan, so that if individuals are still working after a certain age, they can go ahead and access some of that money through what's called an in-service withdrawal and go ahead and do other things with it. And, I think that's a pretty important thing, because 401k plans they're very good and they're very important. They're good from the aspect of the matching contributions that the employer makes, but so often, especially as folks get a little bit older and closer to retirement, they may not have certain options that people need to start using there, and they're now opening those things up that even if someone's still working, they can have access to a certain amount of that money to do other things with.
Yeah, and that's a great idea, because then they control their destiny a lot more than being involved in their company-sponsored retirement plan. So if they can roll some of that money out or all of it out before they actually retire, then they can really start planning on that sum of money with their financial advisor, with their goals, what they're trying to achieve, and they can do a little bit better job with that. So for those employees whose plan does allow for them to withdraw some money from their plan without penalties and without taxation, that might be a good thing for them to look at.
Many times, it's all like all situations. Everybody's a little bit different, and it's what is the best in your specific situation. But it's an option that we're seeing more and more of that we didn't see several years ago.
That's right.
Yeah, and you've already alluded to this, that over the past decade, it's becoming more on the employee to take responsibility for their finances and their retirement, and that can be overwhelming. Just thinking about that, if you're not really into finance or investing and just taking that in, it can be overwhelming. So that's where you all come in, provide that guidance, that advice for their financial security.
Sure. That's right. And it's just always good. Charlie used the analogy of the doctor. Certainly we are very happy and enjoy the clients that we work with, but it's just getting some financial advice from someone who deals with it on a day-to-day basis, because as we were talking before the show, the rules are constantly changing. Everything seems like it's in flux much more than it used to be, and it's the hardest thing is for someone to walk in the front door to see us or someone like us the first time. Then generally it's very easy to start working to figure out what needs to happen there.
Sure. So a lot to explain, I'm sure, when it comes to those options. And these are the guys to see: Ben Worley and Charlie Flannigan from Edward Jones Investments here in Dexter. You're all on 1 Mile Road, easy to find. Yeah, as you see there.
There we are.
Edward Jones here in Dexter on 1 Mile Road. Not hard to find at all. So we'll stop by, see them, and they'll set you up with some great options. And actually, I was on the finance page just the other day, and something about Edward Jones coming away with an award. Can you say anything about that?
Yeah, we're pretty proud of that. Edward Jones it was announced the other day by J.D. Power that Edward Jones won the Investor Satisfaction Award, and this was the 6th time in the last 8 years that we've won this award. So we're obviously very proud of it and very humble. But that award is based on interviews with over 4,000 financial service clients, and there were 14 companies involved in this survey, and Edward Jones was voted number 1. And I said that we've won it the 6 of the last 8 years, so it's we're I don't want to say we're used to winning the award, but we have won it quite a bit in the last number of years. And this is based on satisfaction by investors, and there were 7 different characteristics that were asked about. And I've got these here. Let me. Anyway, it was on financial advisor, account performance, account information, commissions, fees, website, and problem resolution. So those are 7 pretty important characteristics that people were questioned about, and they gave Edward Jones the number 1 rating. So we're obviously very pleased.
Sure, and should. 6 out of 8 years, I think that's a trend.
Maybe so.
Okay, so come see these guys here in Dexter at Edward Jones Investments, Ben Worley and Charlie Flannigan. Have anything else to share with us today?
I think that's it, Tyler.
We just appreciate
Thank you for having us come in.
Okay, appreciate having you all, and we'll see you down the road.
Okay, thank you.
All right.